NFC East, overreaction or not?
It's not an overreaction. This is incredible. All that has to happen is they have to beat the Giants, and then the Eagles have to beat Washington. That's it. That means Dallas wins the NFC East. We're to the point where two completely plausible outcomes could deliver an outcome that we would have imagined a month ago. It is not an overreaction. In fact, it's quite possible.
Can you believe that? How about this? Brian Flores should be the coach of the year. Overreaction or not an overreaction?
Oh, not an overreaction at all. Look, it's a good race. The guy that coached Buffalo last night belongs in the discussion along with a lot of other people. But what Flores is doing right now with his quarterback is some serious coaching. This isn't just give the award to the team that exceeded expectations. This guy is managing his locker room, his players, his quarterback situation in an innovative and successful way. I think what we're watching him do in terms of the job on a day-to-day basis obviously puts him in that conversation.
Okay, and after their comeback win versus the Colts, the Steelers' problems are behind them. Overreaction or not?
I think that's an overreaction. I don't think we wipe away as lousy a month as the Steelers had based on 20 good game minutes of football, which is what we saw. Look, halfway through the third quarter, they were getting stuffed at the goal line and looked like they had no chance to score. Then they sprung to life. They still needed almost 50 yards of pass interference penalties on their final scoring drive to go ahead. So I think there are some issues with the Steelers that have been there all year that surfaced in December, and that while they disappeared for about an hour on Sunday, are still likely to trouble them come playoff time.
Just 1 hour. All right, Marcus. Jeff, let me bring you back in. Marcus, I'll start with you. Are the Steelers' problems behind them?
No. Hell no, they ain't behind them, Ryan. Like, listen, this is a part of the makeup of this team. Now, like, I don't want to disregard or dismiss the fact that this is a Mike Tomlin-led team with Ben Roethlisberger with a lot of experience and a team that's been there with still really good players. But no, their problems aren't behind them. I like the fact that they hit big plays down the field. Garage just told you about the yards that they were giving up for penalties. But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think the issues remain. Right? Offensively, they had to have a bunch of explosive plays. Can they carry that for 4 quarters? Because now we're talking about teams that you're going to have to do that against. And then, too, like, I don't know about everybody else, and I know Jeff Saturday is a Colts fan. I was so disgusted with Matt Eberflus playing in the second half for the Indianapolis Colts. I almost broke my TV screen. He played vanilla, tried to play these simple coverages, didn't add any pressure to Big Ben, who we know doesn't move well in the pocket, and allowed these guys to continue to be one-on-one in the passing game. So, yeah, they were not gifted, but they took advantage of some very sketchy defensive play calling by Matt Eberflus, and then Ben took advantage of that over the top. But I still saw some of the same lingering issues. I still saw the non-consistent run game and things that weren't going to affect them well going forward in the playoffs. So, no, it didn't change my mind at all.
So, Jeff, let me ask this a little bit differently. I know you weren't high on them in terms of how far they'd go in the playoffs before this weekend. Did you see anything this weekend from that game that makes you feel differently?
Not at all. Listen, they beat the Colts, and Swagoo made some great points, and so did Dan, right? They played 1 quarter and 3 minutes of really good football, but they got stuffed on the goal line. Listen, their offensive line ranks 29th in pass protection win rate. I think they're 28 in wins and rush rate. So when you're talking about an offensive line that's played that poorly, big plays definitely help. I have no problem. They made some big plays against the Colts on Sunday. Can you consistently do that in the playoffs? I just don't see that happening. And listen, I love Mike Tomlin. I think he's a heck of a football coach. He gets his guys as motivated as possible. But at the end of the day, the trenches matter. And when your offensive line isn't playing up to par, you're going to have tough sledding. And again, teams aren't just going to let you drop back and hit big plays. They're going to bring pressures. They're going to try to make Big Ben pump fake it or get rid of it so fast guys can rally up. The Colts did not do a good job, really, in all 3 phases in the fourth quarter. And they will admittedly say that. They couldn't convert first down. They stopped running the football. Everything they could do wrong, they did to give that game to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers took advantage of it. That will not continue in playoff football.
All right, so we'll see how this plays out, because this is a Steelers team that really came on in that second half. But the bottom line is, this is a team that offensively has just been stuck for so long. And so many people think they're just not going to get it going. let's talk about this team who people are high on coming up, the 10-5 club in the AFC. Which one of these quarterbacks will miss the playoffs? Predictions straight ahead. But first, a little sneaky Hembo time. This one for Dan. Is anybody better than them right now, playing better than them? The Packers now one game away from clinching the #1 overall seed after dominating the Titans 40-14. The path to the Super Bowl in the NFC may soon have to go through Lambeau Field. And that set up this situation. The Packers can secure the #1 overall seed with a win against the Bears, while the Saints and the Seahawks also have a chance at a first-round bye. Now, Tampa's punched its ticket with the Rams, the Bears, the Cardinals, all in the mix for those final 2 wild card spots. But man, is it tough to think about having to go into Green Bay and play and get to the Super Bowl through there. Let's bring in our guys again. And Jeff, I want to start with you. Which team, if there is one, do you think in the NFC playoffs can go into Lambeau Field and beat these Packers playing the way they're playing right now?
Yeah, Ryan, it's a tough question, man. I mean, when you look at all the NFC challengers, I would probably say the Saints have the best opportunity. And why would I say the Saints? You know, you look at Kamara, can they get the run game started? They have a good offensive line. They can match up and pressure rush you with 4, and they can play decently against your group on the back end. The problem is with as well as Aaron Rodgers and this offensive line is playing. I mean, it's the offensive line for the Packers that I think ultimately are the difference maker. Not only are they protecting for Aaron Rodgers, they're running the rock. So when you talk about what do the Saints have to do, they have to be able to match that, keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, being able to establish their run. It is a tall task. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care what anybody says, weather does matter. When you get to Green Bay, if it's a bad weather game, Tennessee Titans learned that lesson the hard way. These guys practice in it; they're accustomed to it. That's the kind of wild card that Green Bay gets to play with, having this home field advantage.
Yeah, weather matters, but Marcus, I got to think. You know, who also matters? Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, tell me about how cold it is, damn it, and all of the things that go on when you go to Lambeau. I've been there, and I've been there when it's cold. And I went up there with a really good team that we had that year with the Dallas Cowboys. That 8 degrees ain't scared me near as much as looking at 12 over there already knowing what the hell we was going to do on defense and just picking us apart and carving us up. So, yeah. To Jeff's point, the weather is a factor, and it could be beautiful when they play too. But the bottom line is this. You better be worried about Aaron Rodgers more than you worried about being cold. You better get in front of a heater. You better use them heated benches they have over there. You don't need to wear a bunch of layers because when you sweat and get wet and that cold water just sit on you, you better be worried about 12. Because at the end of the day, it don't matter how cold it is. You're going to be left out in the cold and be able to go to the beach if you don't pay attention to him and you worry about the weather. You'll be somewhere on the boat. Maybe you want to be there early. But I know everybody in the playoffs trying to get to a Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers the problem, not the weather.
Yeah, just talking about the weather, by the way, is making me shiver right here in the studio. But Dan, you talked earlier in the meeting about, we meet before the show, and you talked about how the weather could be very interesting in this one. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, look, I mean, you expect it to be awful in January in Green Bay, and that's more likely than not, but it's not automatic. I mean, you could show up and get a 35-degree sunny day, which is kind of a great break if you're going to Green Bay in January. So that's not, I think the key advantages for the Packers, obviously to Marcus's point about Aaron Rodgers, the key advantage is if you get the 1 seed, you have a week off. You only have to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl, where everybody else has to win 3. So that more than where the games are played, I think that's the trick. If the Saints go into Lambeau Field and don't win, I think it's unlikely that the weather would be the main reason why. The Saints are certainly good enough, especially on defense, to handle that. The issue would be maybe they're a little more worn out because they didn't get the bye, and maybe Rodgers is just that locked in right now. But yeah, look, it's not ideal, but the bigger factor in getting the 1 seed this year is not the home field advantage as much as the rest advantage.
Now go ahead, Marcus. Go ahead. Wait, I'm sorry, Jeff. Go.
No. Let me just say this. I'm hearing from a reporter and a defensive guy about weather. From an offensive guy's perspective, I am telling you, it makes a difference, bro. Handling that rock when it's snowing or raining, the only team that's one plays in a dome, one plays in one of the prettiest places in the country in Tampa Bay. These teams, the only guys who feels comfortable going in this would be the Seattle Seahawks because they play in some trash weather. But look, I played with the Colts before I was a Packer. I played in there. Jim Moore came in there screaming at everybody about taking off our sleeves. We were freezing. It was raining. It was nasty. And we ended up losing by a point. I'm going to let you know, weather does play a factor. So whoever's playing them better hope it's sunny and pretty in Green Bay because y'all got a defensive guy talking about chasing somebody. I had to touch that thing. That hand hurts, feels different in that cold weather.
Yeah, it's all about your perspective. Look, I mean, it's a lot colder in the New Orleans Saints press box than it is in the Green Bay Packers one, because you're up near the air conditioners and it's not enclosed. So a little bit of a different situation, I guess.
Go ahead, Marcus. Go ahead.
If I could break it down, like Jeff makes a great point because they handling the rock. It feels when it's that cold, I want to bring like everybody in that's watching. When it's that cold and you playing football, especially in the trenches, that first hit feel like you getting electrocuted. Like it feels like your body is going through the worst possible thing it can go through. Now, as the game goes along, you start to get better because your body warm up and all of that. But that first initial pop when you in